Welcome back to my hometown podcast. I'd like to introduce my guest today. She is a hometown girl, born and raised here in our hometown in Bowie, Texas. We're sitting in Scruggs Furniture, and that her dad James has owned since the mid '60s. We kind of talked about it before, and there's some earlier history. We're going to get into that, but I'd like to please welcome my guest today, Miss Julie Scruggs.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on My Hometown. Our goal in My Hometown is to meet with local businesses, local organizations, different people in our community, and kind of share what's special about our hometown. And Scruggs has been a staple in Bowie for a long, long time. So I kind of wanted to talk about that and kind of the history behind Scruggs. We have a nice, if you're watching us on YouTube, we have a nice set here to sit on all the furniture and all that. So first of all, tell us a little bit about Scruggs. We kind of talked a little bit about before we started. What's kind of the history of Scruggs Furniture?
Okay, the history as far back as I know is that my dad came to work at what was then Richardson Furniture. I think it actually was Bowie Hardware at the time. As a DE student in high school, when they used to let you...
That'd be like the work program.
The work program, when you would get out of school as a senior at lunch and you would go to work. And he started working here and stayed working here and ended up buying into partnerships with H.A. Richardson in the late 60s, about the time I was born. And then has been here on this same corner. Been here on this same corner ever since. He was partners with H.A. for many, many years. And then when H.A. retired, my dad bought the store out just outright.
And it remained that same name until...
It remained Richardson Furniture and Appliance until the furniture store burned back in 1990. I was in college when the furniture store burned.
And I'm sure that everybody that was here in town at that time remember the fire.
It was quite... We have a picture. I'll show you the picture before we leave. You may want to... It was devastating. I won't ever forget. My aunt called me, and I was in college at the time, and she said, I don't want to scare you, but the furniture store's on fire. And so I was in college in Fort Worth, so I just kind of hopped in my car and headed this way. And I won't ever forget it, because when I hit the truck stop about Alvoid, I could see smoke all the way to Bowie, and I just kept telling myself, surely that's not the furniture store. But it was. It was probably one of the biggest fires I think Bowie has probably ever seen.
So what percentage of the store was
all of
destroyed?
It pretty much went to, yeah. Of course, it was a 100-year-old building, and so it was wood, old. I'm sure just everything about it was old, and then the stuff in it was, furniture and bedding and things like that. So, and of course, the fire department sat directly across the street, and my dad has been a volunteer fireman for 60-plus years. Randall, who's worked here for my dad for 40-something years, is a volunteer fireman too. So it went really quick. It was kind of devastating to our family. So.
And how long did it take to rebuild the store?
It took about 6 or 8 months. I can remember moving. I mean, even though I was in college, I can remember because I came home most weekends. So we moved into a little building over on Mason Street. And thank the Lord, my dad had been in business long enough then that furniture manufacturers and appliance people just kept sending us stuff to be able to sell. And we set up a little temporary business over there for probably approximately 8 months. I mean, they tried to get on it as fast as they could, but it took about 8 months. And when Dad built back the store on this corner, it was just part of it originally. He added what we call the lower half a little bit later on.
Which is the part we're sitting in the back half of
the part that we are sitting in right now. So, yes. So that expansion came a little bit later on, but... the fire was devastating. I mean, it was devastating, and I'm in college. My two sisters are in high school, and so he just started back with what we call the front half of the store, and then kind of added on a little bit later. But it was some tough months in there
because it's a family-owned business, and that's hard when something like that.
Yes.
How did the town respond when the store burned?
overwhelmingly. I will cry to start thinking about it, but I do remember, I mean, people from everywhere came. I mean, they honestly did. I mean, we had Herd's Hardware, which are precious people who sat on the other corner. They sold furniture too. I will never forget Ward Wallace and all those people here in a heartbeat doing everything that they could to help us. I mean, it was they came together and helped us tremendously. The fire departments, the surrounding fire departments, neighbors, friends, it was impressive to see a little town rally around like they did.
And it's just everybody comes
together.
Comes to help.
People were bringing food for the firemen to keep them going. It was a big fire. I mean, it definitely was. And I won't ever forget that night watching the news. Of course, they had Dad on the news and just hearing the quiver in his voice. I mean, you're like, where do I go from here? Do I call it quits at this point?
Because that was in 90.
That was in 1990. And like I said, I was in college. My sisters were in high school. And it was either retire, do something different. What do you do? You know? And he was like, no, I got to go. We got to build back. So he did build back.
And so growing up, so this store has always been here ever since. I mean,
it looks a little different now, but it's on the same corner. Yes.
But it's always. So how was that growing up? Always your dad being in business for himself. Was it expected that you'd carry on the business? Because now, how long have you been here working with your dad?
Well, off and on, I will say most of my 54 years of life. I mean, not real. I mean, but I hung out here as a kid.
And how long has it been kind of full time?
Well, I used to teach third grade, and my oldest kiddo is 26, so I've not taught school in 26 years. So stayed home for a few years, but for the last 24 years, I've been up here pretty consistently. It started out just part-time. I would work so Dad could have a few days to get out of the store. And then he kept telling me after my last kiddo came along, he kept saying, are you coming to work full-time? And I'm like, when Kimberly goes to kindergarten, I'll come to work full-time. Well, before I knew it, Kimberly started kindergarten, and Dad said, thought you were coming to work full-time. So from then on, I just started working every day at that. Well, I say every day. My version of every day is 5 days a week, not 6.
But every day of the work week.
Yeah, but every day of the work week. So, yeah.
And so was it kind of expected that growing up that you would eventually end up working here? Or because like you said, you have 2 sisters.
I do.
And they don't work in the store?
They do not work here in the store. I don't know. I think just because my husband and I decided to settle here. I mean, we decided to stay here. Like I said, I taught third grade for about 4 years, stayed home for a few years.
You teach it at Bowie?
At Bowie. I taught third grade in Bowie. And then, I don't know, just off and on, I worked up here all the time anyway. I would work Saturdays, or I would work various times. I've just always been up here off and on most of my life. So I don't know that it was ever necessarily expected from my parents that I would continue the furniture store, but I do love the furniture business. I don't, by degree, have a degree in the in the furniture business, but growing up in the furniture business, I love it. And as I have gotten older, I can't stand the thought that somebody else will come in and take over a business that I feel like my dad's worked really hard at. So it will be my honor to continue it on. My sisters, if they ever move back to Bowie, I'm sure they would love to help be a part of it too. Their just career paths have taken them other places right now. But if they ever end back up in Bowie, they'll probably join back up here too. So,
what makes Scruggs special?
Well, I would say first of all, our customers. I mean, our customers are the only reason that my dad has been sitting on this corner 60-something years. If it were not for awesome customers, we wouldn't still be here. And our trade area, from Nocona to Forestburg to Monte, everybody in our county, and then out past that. If it were not for our customers, we wouldn't be here. So definitely, it will definitely be that the customers have been great to support us through the years, and we appreciate that more than they will ever know, because my family would not have been able to maintain having a business in downtown Bowie for this many years without the support of Bowie and the entire Montague County surrounding areas. I mean, we go to Nocona a lot. We're thankful for Nocona. We're thankful for all of our surrounding trade areas that are willing to drive over and shop with us. So,
and I think from a customer standpoint, partly what I think it makes Scruggs Furniture so special is the customer service that receives. And so many times in a small town, people tend to think things are going to be a little more expensive in a small town.
right.
Just because, they say, well, I can get it cheaper here, I get it there. And I have found, I think, and sometimes I think customers and citizens don't give a business a chance because they do feel that it's going to be too expensive or it's going to be more.
Right.
And so from a customer standpoint, because as I've told you before, I think everything that we own except for one piece of furniture in our house has come from Scruggs Furniture.
We thank you for that. Yes.
And that is truly because, first of all, we can get anything we want. That means there's a wide variety. We can order anything, we get anything. The price it's unbeatable. Here at Scruggs.
We try.
Yes. I mean we've even gone to other furniture stores and come back and told you what we wanted.
Right.
And
yes.
we've gotten it cheaper than a big furniture store. And another thing is that you can have it the same day a lot of times.
That is true.
And there's no cost for delivery in a certain area, right?
True.
Or
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so we may charge a little bit of a delivery fee if we go a good little distance. But we try not to charge a delivery fee, here close by. And even through, COVID, gas prices, things just changing, that is the one place my dad never, I would mention it from time to time. Dad, is there going to come a point where you're going to have to start tacking on a little bit of a delivery charge? He's like, no. That's just... The one thing that I will say, that if we do try the hardest, we may not always succeed at it, but we do try at it, is we do appreciate our customers. We do appreciate you shopping with us. And we try, we meet our customers every day in the everyday sense. And we want our customers to be happy. So we do try really hard. We don't probably always succeed at that, but we do try really hard to provide customer service to our customers. And we do try to always, if we can, we'll do same day delivery. I think that's part of what was a blessing for us during the COVID time and things like that, is because so many places that wasn't happening, and we gained a lot of new customers out of that because people didn't want to have to wait 6 months or 8 months to have to order something, or those types of things. They were shocked that we would deliver off of our floor. So I think that was an asset for us during the COVID times too. We did gain a lot of precious new customers, through that time.
And really in a time that it was taking a little longer to get things, just because of supply chains, and just it took longer.
We had some time frames where we could have played a football game in here. It got pretty sparse at times, but it's by far better. So.
And customers were patient.
And yes.
Willing to wait.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
And I think that's what makes our town a blessing, is that customer service that sometimes we don't get in a bigger community, a bigger city, a bigger town. Because you're right, we do see our customers in the grocery store.
Yes.
We see them at church.
Yes.
So we want to treat them fair. We want to treat them right. We want to give them the best value and best customer service that they...
It's the same for you and your business at Synergy. You do. You meet your customers. They become your friends. They're people you know. They'll call... now a lot will call me on the phone, text me, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you have it? I need, some people buy it and don't even see it. They're like, bring it to me. We've just, through the years, developed those kinds of relationships. And I will say the other thing is that Randall, that has worked for my dad for 40-something years, will service everything that we sell. So if it's an appliance that we sell, we service it. So I think that's another...
And it's typically not...
blessing, or maybe... perk to to shopping. Hopefully, locally, that we do service everything we sell. So
And it's typically not like when you get somewhere at another store out of town where, okay, well, we can be there in 4 weeks
Right.
to service your appliance.
Right.
It's typically a lot
Right.
quicker. And that's a huge benefit
well,
to customers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's a good thing. What during COVID, what are some of the, you gain customers.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you had to overcome as a small business with
Definitely getting product. I mean, that by far was probably the biggest struggle, because things that we were used to getting in 4 to 6 weeks were now 6 months. I mean, some of them were out really far. So that became a struggle. I will say we've had, trying to keep, aside from my dad, who's always been here, in Randall, who I joke has always been here. He came to work here when I was 9 years old. I mean,
Wow.
so, he's like part of the family, I think the hardest part through some of it was just trying to keep employees go, aside from, because my dad and Randall are not ones that probably can carry the heavy stuff anymore. So we needed younger guys for that. And through that, kind of keeping employees was a bit of a struggle.
So how do you, Randall's been here 40 years.
Yeah.
How do you keep an employee 40 years in a small business in a small community? How do you do it?
I don't know. We appreciate his loyalty. I mean, I will say that, because probably that is a rare thing in the world we live in today. I don't know. He's just been here so long. We just probably take that for granted, I think, to some degree. But to find employees like Randall Hugators of America are hard to come by. I mean, they really are. He's been a long time faithful employee to my dad, and I think that's part of the success too, is people know that they could depend upon consistency of I don't know, we've had lots of delivery guys through the years, and they've been high school kids all the way down, and we've laughed with a lot of them, and there's been a few that we're like, oh my word, but it's all been good. It's all been good. But I would say through COVID, the keeping employee, that part, aside from Randall, trying to keep others was probably some of our bigger struggle. Yeah.
And why your dad was here in high school, and was it just something that he just decided that he liked and wanted to continue? Was it just kind of something fell into and said, well, I've been doing this for this long, I'll just keep doing it? I mean, up to a point when the fire, he decides, I want to service customers, I want to do that. But prior to that, is it just something that?
I think I've always heard, now my mother has told me this, and Dad has mentioned it before too. I think my dad wanted to be an ag teacher. If he probably right out of college would have told you what he wanted to do. He was big in FFA, doing all of that, was a green hand, did all of those things, and really wanted to be an ag teacher, but just not the money there to go to college. So it was get a job. And I really do admire my dad. I always say, a college degree does not make you successful. It doesn't. That's not always what does it. I think he just had a work ethic, and he just was a sharp business guy and just made it work. But I think he loved the furniture business. He loved the customers. He loved doing that. He's always been involved in the community in all areas. I mean, he's been a volunteer fireman for as long, 60. He's probably one of the oldest volunteer firemen in years of service that there's been in Bowie. He's been a volunteer fireman. He was president of the Chamber of Commerce all of his years. He did he just did all of the organizations. He wanted to be a part of everything in Bowie and just, contribute back to Bowie too. So,
and I think that's important as a business owner, that we also contribute back to our community. We service customers, but we contribute back.
Yes.
And your family, is you have several business owners.
I do.
Your dad owns the furniture store.
Yes.
Your husband Terry owns
Yeah,
a real estate company.
real estate, and then the flooring company.
Uh-huh.
So,
And then your son
my
owns
son is
title company.
title company now. So yes,
So it's neat to see family own more businesses, and really our community is full of family owned businesses.
it truly is.
And
Yes.
and through the podcast, I want to encourage people to support those community businesses because they are. So I want to. You can kind of dispel a common myth. So, as a small business owner, many people feel that business owners are making tons of money. So it's my thought and belief that small business owners in small towns don't go into business because they're going to make $1 million.
That is correct.
They go in business for the love of the business.
True.
They want to sell furniture. They want to make people healthier. They want to do these things, but it's not. And I think so many times we might think in a small town it's to make a bunch of money. Most small business owners, I believe, are making a living.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
But there has to be a bigger purpose than, and I think if the general public would know what a small town business owner goes through, they'd be like, why are you still doing that?
That
so
is true.
It really has to be for the love of the business.
It does.
And I think that comes through and shows when you have great customer service and you take care of customers.
I think that's probably the way every business in Bowie. I mean, I could go down the street.
Mm-hmm.
I could go down the streets of Bowie, and every person that I know that owns their business, they really are pouring their hearts and souls into that business. I mean, I know you can attest to this because I know you jog early in the mornings and things. I mean, now my dad is more faithful as this than I am. I'm not going to get here at 4:30 in the morning, but my dad does. I mean,
and I've seen his truck here. I've seen the lights on, and he's working. And I go
here.
through town in early morning. I see business owners
Yes.
at their businesses that time of day. They're not getting paid for that.
Yeah, no, they're up there doing their bookwork or doing whatever needs to be done, putting things together, getting things ready for the day. So I think there is a lot that goes into it, but I think they do it because they love it. They love being in rural America. There are great benefits, as we saw through COVID and all just through the last few years, the way things have gone. There are many blessings to living in small rural America. And I do think the business owners here, not just us, but you, every person that owns a small business in Bowie, Texas, or in our surrounding Montague County area, I think they get up every day going to work, trying hard to provide customer service and a good business for people. I don't think anybody that owns their own business gets up and thinks, who am I going to go to work today to see if I can tick them off and do the work?
Yeah, and make tons of money.
And see what I can do, and then meet up with them at the grocery store and be like, hi, how are you? I mean, that's just not how it goes. You really do become friends. Through the years with your customers. You pray that by you're trying your best to take care of your customers through word of mouth, because I always think in little towns, word of mouth is going to be what helps you to sink or swim, So I think we're all, you, us, every other business that sits in this town is just really trying hard to just provide a good customer service-based business for whatever they're selling, whether it be beauty shops, fitness, furniture, food, restaurant, really, the whole thing.
Just trying to make our community better.
Yes.
Our my hometown better, because each of us take it as it's our hometown. It's where we've been raised.
Yes.
It's where our kids were raised. It's where some of them, as they get older, they go out, they see the world, and they realize how special Bowie is.
Bowie is.
Yeah. Sometimes
the kiddo at the title, they're always like, I'm graduating and I'm not coming back. And then when they come back, they're like, it really is a great little place to be. I mean, it is. It just is. You don't, I'm going to tell you a brief, short little story, but my son is engaged to be married this July, and we went to eat at I can't even remember now where we were eating, but it was like it was somewhere in Bowie, and my new little daughter-in-law to be, you walk in, you absolutely know most everybody
Yes.
in there, and it was one of her first little trips to be. She's like, "Do y'all know? I mean, does everybody know everybody here?" And I'm like, "Yes, pretty much. I mean, you do," which I think is a blessing. I mean, we can sit down at Dos Chili's and they will bring us our drink order before we even. We don't have to tell them what we want. They just know. I
They
mean,
just come.
you don't get those perks when you head in to the city to do that. You just don't. And I think all of us try to stay competitive. We really do. Mom and I, when we get out, if we head to the Metroplex, we venture through places and we try. And for the most part, when I go in looking like at other places, I'm like, am I being able to be competitive? For the most part, I think we are. I mean, we try anyway. We really do try. Sometimes it's hard when you're meeting up with what I call the big box guys. Sometimes they're hard to compete with. They're buying in a lot different quantities than we are.
Right.
But we still try really hard to be competitive. So we do. I don't know. I just will never be able to say enough nice things about Bowie. I mean, we've all graduated from high school here. We've come back. We've decided, like you said, once we've left and gone off and come back, that we really do love living here. I mean, there's a lot of benefits. My new little neighbors down the road moved here from California. They couldn't believe they got their furniture the same day that they came in. I mean, it's just the little things.
And I think sometimes we take what we have for granted.
Yes.
Because
I
we're
agree.
used to it.
Yes.
But somebody that comes from out of state, out of
Yes.
town, and they realize, wow, this isn't the norm.
Yes.
And I think we take that for granted. That
I agree.
that's just
agree.
what we should get.
Yeah.
And so, and I think that's true. We go out, we see the world, and we come back and we realize, that's what's special.
You have a new appreciation for.
Yes. So, what is, aside from being a business owner, just for you individually, what makes Bowie, your hometown, so special? That if somebody didn't live here and they were hearing this for the first time, and because our town is growing, our community is growing, we're having people move in, and they may be thinking about moving here, and say, what makes our hometown, your hometown, special?
Well, I mean, from going back to living here my entire life, I just think that what small towns can offer you is the connections with people. I know I've said this before, but you do develop relationships with your customers and with your neighbors and your friends. I mean, I have sisters who live in the Metroplex and they don't know their next door neighbors. I mean, I just think people in small towns, they still meet people. They want to visit with people. They want to know their customers. They know about what's going on with their kiddos and their families. And and if tragedy strikes, which our little town has seen a lot of, in the last bit, from, I think back to the fire for us, to things that have happened at our high school and things with kids and students and things.
Our tornado
That came in and did a lot of damage. I don't think you see the people pull together in the larger cities that you see happen in small. I mean, people are out helping people move stuff, haul stuff out of their businesses and just try to help load dumpsters and help them get things cleaned up so they can get back open as quick as possible, or just whatever, just whatever needs to be happening. I just think people pull together. And even just like the other day, my husband goes over, our kids have been involved in the ag program when they were in high school, and we go over to the project show. And when I see what Little Bowie, Texas raises for the buyers group to go over there and spend on buying kids animals and just all aspects of things, you know, I think they're great to support the kids here in our town and the businesses and just their neighbors to help. So I would have to say that all those things are what make Bowie special. I have family who live in other places and they don't have that. That is the one thing they will say about Bowie is, you know, how people pull together to help.
And it's not because you're my neighbor and I know you. It's because you live in our community.
Yes.
And so we're going to support you because you live in our community.
Yes.
And, you know, like every community, like every family, there's things we struggle with, and there's some good things, and I think our good things far outweigh some of those things that as a community we struggle with. But I think that connecting and the people that connect in our community is a very rich thing in our community, and connecting and connecting with businesses and organizations, and you know, just like buying at the sale for the show and all that. It's not, you know, they might not know the kids, but they're still supporting.
They're supporting the cause, and they're going to fish fry fundraisers, and you know, you see those things going on for everything in all aspects, and people are very giving here. I mean, they really are. So it amazes me what goes on in a town our size. And the amount of money that can be raised for benefits and things like that, it's impressive. So there's a lot of good giving people in this town. A lot of good giving people in this town.
Yes, I would agree. Yes. Well, thank you, Julie, for taking a little time to
Absolutely.
share a little bit of history about Scruggs Furniture. All the years here, going through a fire, going through COVID, going through a tornado. A lot of staff changes with delivery and just sharing all that, because I really believe that people come to do business with people they know, love, and trust.
I agree.
And as our small businesses grow, it's because we are in the community, we're connecting with the community, we're giving the best customer service, but also we're just being good people, being the best people as Christians as we should be.
Yes.
And being representative of that.
I agree.
And I think that's important to have that as small business owners, and just as humans all the way around. We need to be
just doing things the way the Lord wants you to do that.
Yes, and doing it because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
And I think my dad always told me, when we do the right thing, we can never go wrong.
That is so true.
He never says the right thing's going to be easy.
No.
But he says we'll never go wrong when we do the right thing.
I agree.
So thank you, Julie, for...
Well, thank you. I really do appreciate you. When Aaron came to me and asked me about this, I was so impressed. I mean, I'm impressed that you take the time, even away from your business, to come out and interview other people and to do this podcast. I mean, we really do appreciate that you're promoting the businesses and what it's like to live in Bowie, Texas, and to be proud of it. So thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I want to share the specialness of as the podcast is called, My Hometown, and what it means. So thank you for helping me share the message of our hometown, of my hometown. So
you are welcome.
Thank you, everybody, for taking a little time to stop by Scruggs Furniture and visiting with Julie and I as we had our conversation. And we hope to see you around my hometown in the future.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.